They have all of the kids wearing masks and they have them keeping their head down. They're telling them to hide their face. Many of these kids go missing.
Pay attention to the quiet street in this footage. It was recorded in Hollywood, Florida on Sunday, September 7th, 2025. This is 17-year-old Ziyon Nixon. It might look like a normal afternoon in the 2400 block of Wiley Street. But this street hides a disturbing secret, because just minutes after she was last seen here, Ziyon disappeared.
You said that you were on vacation and now you're moving this small child to the airport. I thought you were on vacation. Do you have any comment about the children that have gone missing that you've helped to escort across the country?
And the key to uncovering the truth about what happened to her may lie in what nobody saw. Investigators checked Ziyon's phone records. At 4:47 p.m., all activity stopped. No calls, no texts, no signal. A neighbor recalled a dark vehicle circling the block. Some believe Ziyon may have approached it, but no camera captured what happened next. By 6 p.m., her family was searching desperately. By 8 p.m., police were knocking on doors, but there were no answers. Days later, tips began to surface. A stranger online claimed to have seen her. Others speculated about a car waiting nearby. Each lead collapsed under scrutiny. And still, Ziyon Nixon has not been found.
The kids coming over here, are they trafficked or like what's the...
Some are. I'm not allowed. Some are.
Does that happen a lot that the kids come over here with a totally fake name?
It has.
Yeah?
There's no way for us to verify.
And so they come over here with a fake name and then they just come over and what? They just get a brand new identity. They could be anybody.
Have you seen that movie?
Sound of Freedom?
Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah.
Exactly like that. Shit happens.
You guys get the kids coming over here with the notes that are attached to them with the addresses, right? And a lot of times that just leads to like a sex trafficker or something, right? That's legit.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit that we can't tell.
What's the issue though? Why can't you guys talk on camera?
It's the policies that we have, things that we can and can't say.
But why don't they want you talking on camera?
Politics.
Politics. What, like making the administration look bad? Or...
Yeah.
Damn.
September 7th, 2025. 17-year-old Ziyon Nixon is last seen on Wiley Street in Hollywood, Florida. The time, just after 4:20 p.m. What happened in the next 20 minutes remains one of the most unsettling mysteries in this city's recent history. According to witnesses, Ziyon was walking near the 2400 block. Nothing unusual. No suitcase, no backpack, no signs she was running away. She looked like a teenager taking a short walk through her neighborhood. By 4:32 p.m., she spotted again, this time closer to the intersection. And then, she's gone. At 4:47 p.m., her phone goes silent. Not low battery, silent. No calls, no texts, no activity. Investigators believe it was either switched off or forcibly disabled. Police canvassed the neighborhood for surveillance footage. And here's where the story gets darker. Despite dozens of homes with cameras, not a single one caught Ziyon's final movements. Every camera that mattered, the ones pointing at corners, driveways, exits, either wasn't working or didn't have the angle. That's not just bad luck, that's a blind spot, and it's a blind spot someone could have exploited. Neighbors recall a suspicious dark vehicle circling the block earlier in the day. One description says it slowed near the spot where Ziyon was last seen, but police have never confirmed a license plate, a make, or even if it's connected. So here's the timeline. 4:20 p.m., Ziyon seen walking near her home. 4:32 p.m., last confirmed sighting. 4:47 p.m., her phone goes dark. 17 minutes, that's all it took for a teenager to vanish without a trace. No struggle, no witness to a kidnapping, no goodbye message, just silence. And the question investigators still can't answer. How does a 17-year-old disappear in daylight, on a street surrounded by cameras, without leaving a single clue? By 4:47 p.m., Ziyon Nixon's phone went silent. Not low battery, not weak signal, just a sudden, unexplained stop. We've reviewed call logs. In the minutes leading up to her disappearance, her phone was active, receiving texts, exchanging calls. Then everything cut off. Investigators won't say whether it was turned off manually or disabled, but either way, it raises a red flag. From that moment on, the Nixon family was locked in a nightmare. Her mother's first text went unanswered. Her father's call rang once, then disconnected. At first they told themselves it was nothing. Maybe the battery died, maybe she'd be home soon. But as the hours ticked by, those reassurances fell apart. At 6 p.m., panic set in. The family started calling friends. None had seen her. They checked the streets she usually walked. Nothing. Neighbors said they didn't see Ziyon after 4:30. By 6:30, the Nixon home turned into a command center. Dozens of calls were made. Every single one ended the same way. No response. At 7:15, the family expanded their search. They knocked on doors. They begged neighbors for doorbell footage. One resident reported a car circling the block slowly earlier in the day. No license plate. No details. Another neighbor remembered nothing unusual at all. By 8 p.m., there was no denying it anymore. This wasn't a teenager avoiding her parents. This wasn't a phone on low battery. Something was wrong. At 8:15 p.m., the Hollywood Police Department logged the case. An officer was dispatched to Wiley Street. The report was clear. Ziyon Nixon, 17 years old, missing. Last seen just after 4:30. Phone dead at 4:47. No contact since. What makes this case stand out is the context. In Florida, most teenage disappearances are labeled runaways in the first 24 hours. But Ziyon's family pushed back hard. They told investigators this wasn't her. No signs of trouble at home. No reason to run. And that insistence forced police to treat the case with urgency. Every unanswered call, every failed text, every passing minute after 4:47 p.m. painted a darker picture. Because in missing person investigations, silence is never neutral. Silence usually means danger. And for Ziyon Nixon's family, it was the beginning of every parent's worst fear, a child gone without explanation, and a clock ticking against them. By 8:15 p.m., the Hollywood Police Department had Ziyon Nixon officially listed as missing. Within the hour, they made a critical decision: go public. The department issued its first missing juvenile bulletin on Facebook. The post was direct. Ziyon Nixon is 17 years old. She was last seen in the 2400 block of Wiley Street. Anyone with information is urged to call Hollywood police immediately. The notice included her photograph, one of the last images her family had of her, and almost instantly it began to spread. Within minutes, the post had been shared hundreds of times. By midnight, thousands. Instagram accounts dedicated to missing children reposted the alert. Community groups with tens of thousands of followers picked it up. In less than 24 hours, Ziyon's name was on screens far beyond Hollywood, Florida. Social media had become the first search tool. While police canvassed the neighborhood, the public was combing digital networks. Users tagged friends, spread her photo across states, and pushed the story to anyone who might have seen her. But that speed came with a cost. Confusion began to seep in. One early post misidentified her as 14 years old instead of 17. That error was reposted again and again, creating uncertainty about who people should be looking for. Another rumor suggested she had last been seen getting into a rideshare. Police later confirmed no such vehicle was connected. False leads multiplied as quickly as the truth. Detectives suddenly faced a double challenge, tracking down real tips while fighting against misinformation. Still, the social media surge couldn't be ignored. By the next morning, Ziyon's disappearance had the attention of people far outside of Florida. From parents in neighboring states to advocacy groups fighting trafficking, everyone was asking the same question: what happened to Ziyon Nixon on Wiley Street? For investigators, this was both an opportunity and a risk. Because once a case like this goes viral, it lives in two places: on the ground, where police work door to door, and online, where the story can take on a life of its own. Night had fallen on Wiley Street, but the search for Ziyon Nixon was only just beginning. Police units moved methodically along the corridor. Officers knocked on doors, asking the same questions over and over. Did you see a 17-year-old girl? Did you notice anything unusual? A car? A stranger? A sound? Most answers were the same. No. Nothing. Silence. By 10 a.m., the search widened. K-9 units were deployed. Dogs were led up and down the sidewalks, into vacant lots, behind fences. Handlers watched for the slightest signal, a scent trail, a tug on the leash. But the dogs came back empty. Next came the drones. Hovering above the neighborhood, their infrared cameras swept the streets, scanning for heat signatures in alleys, parks and yards. Again, nothing. Officers searched trash bins. They checked construction sites. They even drained part of a nearby canal. Still no trace of Ziyon. What made it all more disturbing was the geography. Wiley Street isn't a highway. It's not a crowded mall. It's a small neighborhood. A place where people know one another. A place where someone walking should be seen, noticed, remembered. And yet in this search, every lead evaporated. Detectives grew frustrated. How could a teenager vanish in the span of minutes, on a street lined with homes, under a sky full of cameras and drones? By midnight, the question hung heavy over the search teams. How does a teenager vanish without leaving a footprint? The officers packed up for the night, but the silence of Wiley Street lingered. And with each passing hour, the odds of finding Ziyon safe slipped further away. When a teenager disappears, investigators start with the simplest explanation: runaway. Could Ziyon Nixon have left on her own? On paper, it's the most common outcome. But her family pushed back immediately. They told detectives Ziyon was grounded, steady, and not the kind of girl to vanish without warning. No hidden fights at home. No secret plans. For them, the idea of a runaway didn't just feel unlikely, it felt impossible. If not a runaway, then what? South Florida has a troubled history. It's a corridor long linked to human trafficking. I-95, running north to south, is a known pipeline. Teens plucked from neighborhoods like Hollywood can disappear into networks that stretch across the state in hours. Advocacy groups watching Ziyon's case raised the alarm quickly. The silence of her phone, the speed of her disappearance, the absence of any trace, all of it fits a chilling pattern. And then there's the third possibility, stranger abduction. Neighbors reported a suspicious dark vehicle circling Wiley Street earlier that day. One resident described it slowing near the spot where Ziyon was last seen. But without plates, without cameras, the lead was a dead end. Still, the possibility lingers. A car, a stranger, a single moment where Ziyon could have been pulled away. Each theory carries weight, each theory terrifies, but none of them bring answers. And that is the cruelest part of this investigation. Because in the case of Ziyon Nixon, every door opens to another question. Runaway, out of character, trafficking, possible, abduction, unproven. What remains is silence, and a mystery that grows darker with every passing day. By the second day of the investigation, detectives began looking beyond Wiley Street. If Ziyon Nixon wasn't found on the ground, maybe the answers were hidden online. Her digital footprint pointed to Snapchat and Instagram, two platforms she used regularly. Messages, stories, location tags, the pieces of a teenager's daily life, and potential keys to her disappearance. But here's the problem. Snapchat isn't like a diary. Messages disappear. Stories vanish. For predators, that's the perfect cover, and Florida has seen it before. In the past 2 years alone, multiple cases of missing teens have been traced back to strangers they first met online. A new friend request, a late-night chat, an invitation that seemed harmless, until it wasn't. Ziyon's family feared this immediately. Her father suggested she may have been speaking with someone through Snapchat, someone who knew her routine, someone who knew exactly when she would be outside. If that's true, then Ziyon didn't just vanish by chance. She may have been targeted. Detectives won't say what they've recovered from her accounts, but what we do know is this. The window between her last text at 4:47 p.m. and her disappearance is small, too small to be random, too precise to ignore, which raises the most chilling possibility of all, that whoever contacted Ziyon online may have been waiting for her on Wiley Street. By the next morning, the search for Ziyon Nixon was no longer confined to Wiley Street. Her case had broken into the headlines. Local outlets WSVN and Local10 were first to broadcast the alert. Her photo appeared on evening news tickers. Her name was spoken across South Florida homes. The urgency was clear. A 17-year-old girl, missing without a trace. But the story didn't stop there. Missing persons advocates, groups who specialize in amplifying cases the public often forgets, seized on Ziyon's disappearance. Pages like A Voice for the Voiceless and Beware Child Trafficking reposted her image. They urged their followers to share it, to tag friends, to spread it beyond Florida's borders. And they did. Within 48 hours, Ziyon's face had traveled far outside her community. But with that surge came something investigators dreaded: misinformation. On Facebook, one post described her as 14 years old, not 17. That mistake was repeated again and again, muddying details for people trying to help. Other posts suggested she'd been seen in a rideshare car. Police quickly dismissed the claim, but by then it had been shared thousands of times. The case was no longer just a police investigation. It had become an online storm, half awareness campaign, half rumor mill. For detectives, this meant sifting through a flood of tips, most of them dead ends. For the family, it meant watching strangers online argue about their daughter's fate. And that's the double-edged sword of the modern missing person case. Social media can spread a photo across the country in minutes, but it can also bury the truth beneath noise. In Ziyon's case, the awareness kept her story alive, but the speculation risked distorting it. The battle had begun, police working against the clock on the ground, while online, her disappearance turned into something else entirely, a story shaped by the crowd. By now, Ziyon Nixon's disappearance had sparked a question that families across Florida knew all too well. Why does this keep happening? And tragically, she won't be the last. Just weeks earlier, another teen went missing from Central Florida. Months before that, a 15-year-old girl disappeared from Miami-Dade. Each case began the same way. A routine day, a phone that suddenly went silent, a family begging for answers. We spoke with families, still searching for their children. One mother described the moment her daughter didn't come home from school. It's like the ground swallowed her whole. No trace, no goodbye. Another father, whose son vanished after meeting someone online, said, "People think this happens in movies. It doesn't. It happens in your neighborhood. It happened to mine." Their stories echo Ziyon's family's pain, the sleepless nights, the unanswered calls, the endless cycle of hope and despair, and the numbers are staggering. Every year, more than 300,000 children are reported missing in the United States. Most are found, many of them teenagers, many of them girls. For investigators, this isn't just one case. It's part of a pattern, a larger epidemic of youth disappearing into silence. And that's the truth Ziyon's case forces us to confront. She is not alone. She is one of many faces, one of many names, lost in America's missing crisis. In every missing person case, time is the greatest enemy. Experts call it the first 48 rule. The window where clues are fresh, witnesses remember details, and leads have a chance to hold. But after 2 days, the trail begins to collapse. Memories blur, cameras overwrite their footage, phone records grow colder with every hour. In Ziyon Nixon's case, that clock started ticking at 4:47 p.m. on September 7th, the moment her phone went silent. From there, investigators were already racing against time. One former FBI profiler explains it this way: the first 2 days define everything. If you don't find direction in 48 hours, you're chasing shadows. For Ziyon's family, those shadows only deepened. Every call that went unanswered, every search that came back empty, pushed them further from hope and closer to fear. By the end of the first week, the urgency shifted to dread. By the second week, the odds of finding Ziyon safe had dropped dramatically. And now, days are turning into weeks. Where is Ziyon Nixon?